My eyes opened. Sunlight streamed through giant windows. Where was I? This wasn't my room. This room was huge. A giant fluffy bed with silk sheets surrounded me. Wait a minute, silk sheets? This is awesome. I sat up. A gong echoed in the distance. A man in a funny hat bowed deeply. "Good morning, Your Majesty," he said. "My Majesty, it finally dawned on me. I was dreaming. I was a king in this dream. Cool. What's for breakfast?" I asked, hoping it was something good. The man, he must have been a servant, looked surprised. "Whatever Your Majesty desires," he stammered. I grinned. "Pancakes, and make it a stack." I hopped out of bed and stretched. Being a king was awesome already. I couldn't wait to see what this dream had in store for me next. The pancakes were amazing, fluffy, golden brown, with a mountain of whipped cream. Being a king definitely had its perks. I devoured the pancakes in record time. I was famished. Next, a bunch of servants in fancy uniforms ushered me into a giant bathroom. They helped me bathe and dress in a ridiculous but comfy silk robe. I felt like I was in a movie. Everything was so opulent and over the top. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. "Your crown, Your Majesty," a servant said, offering me a sparkling crown with tons of jewels. I carefully placed it on my head. It was surprisingly heavy. Being a king wasn't all fun and games, I realized. Sometimes you had to wear heavy stuff on your head. Feeling somewhat regal, I followed the servants out the door. My day as king was just beginning. Being a king was boring. Who knew? I spent hours stuck in meetings. Advisors droned on and on about trade agreements and tax disputes. I stifled a yawn. Then came the ceremonies. Knights, ambassadors, even a delegation of talking squirrels, don't ask, all lined up to greet me. I had to smile and wave until my hand cramped. Being royal was hard work. Finally, I was back in my chambers. I slumped onto a plush armchair, exhausted. Being king wasn't just about pancakes and comfy beds, I realized. It was a lot of responsibility, and I wasn't sure I was cut out for it. Just when I thought I could take a nap, a servant rushed in, his face pale. "Your Majesty, we have a crisis," he exclaimed. "Oh no, not a crisis. What now?" "What kind of crisis?" I asked, trying to sound regal and failing miserably. The servant wrung his hands. "The royal jester, Your Majesty, he's gone missing." "A missing jester?" That sounded serious. I mean, who would want to kidnap a jester, especially the royal jester? The guy was more likely to trip over his own shoelaces than be kidnapped. Unless, did anyone check the kitchen? I asked, a suspicion forming in my mind. The servant looked confused. "The kitchen, Your Majesty." "Yeah," I said. "I bet he's raided the pantry for the royal jelly donuts. Those things are irresistible." And guess what? I was right. We found the jester in the kitchen, happily munching on a jelly donut. He sheepishly grinned when he saw us. Crisis averted. That day, I learned that being a king wasn't just about power or luxury. It was about solving problems, even silly ones like a missing jester with a sweet tooth. And sometimes the best way to solve a problem was with a little bit of common sense and a good laugh.